it's time to open the Woo Files, a place where curiosity meets the unexplained.
Welcome to the Woo Files. Today we're talking about Reiki. Reiki is practiced around the world. You'll find it in private healing practices, wellness centers, and even some hospitals and medical centers. A practitioner places their hands lightly on or sometimes just above the body, with the intention of facilitating healing, relaxation, and balance. But where did Reiki actually come from? And who was the man behind it? His name was Mikao Usui, and his story begins in Japan more than a century ago. Usui was born in Japan in 1865. Throughout his life, he studied a variety of spiritual and philosophical traditions, including Buddhism. But according to the traditional history of Reiki, something extraordinary happened to Usui in 1922. He traveled to Mount Kurama, a mountain north of Kyoto, with a long history of Buddhist spiritual practice. He went there for a period of fasting and meditation, reportedly lasting 21 days. And near the end of that retreat, he experienced what he described as a profound spiritual awakening. Usui used the Japanese term satori. It means a sudden experience of realization or enlightenment. According to Reiki tradition, it was through this experience that Usui developed the healing practice that would eventually become known as Reiki. But here's where the story gets interesting. The Reiki practice today wasn't simply handed to Usui as a complete system on the mountain. After his experience, he began developing and teaching his own method of spiritual practice and healing. He called it Usui Reiki Ryōhō, roughly translated as the Usui Reiki healing method. And Reiki itself? The Japanese word is usually translated as something similar to universal life energy or spiritual energy. Usui's original system wasn't simply about putting your hands on someone and sending them energy. It included meditation, spiritual practices, personal development, and hands-on healing. For Usui, healing the self and developing spirituality appear to have been central parts of the practice. He eventually established a teaching organization in Tokyo and trained students in his method. One of those students was Chujiro Hayashi, a retired Japanese naval officer, and Hayashi would become incredibly important to the story because one of his students was a Japanese-American woman named Hawayo Takata. Takata brought Reiki to Hawaii and eventually taught it throughout the United States and Canada. By the time she died in 1980, she had trained a small group of Reiki masters, who then trained others, and Reiki began spreading around the world, which means many Reiki practitioners today can trace their teaching lineage backward, teacher by teacher, to Takata, to Hayashi, and ultimately to Mikao Usui. But what about the healing itself? Well, that's where Reiki enters much murkier territory. Practitioners commonly describe warmth, tingling, deep relaxation, emotional releases, or simply a profound sense of calm during a session. Some people report much more dramatic experiences. Scientific research into Reiki has produced mixed results, though. Some studies have reported improvements in things like relaxation, anxiety, pain, and quality of life, but researchers have struggled to determine whether those effects demonstrate the existence of a specific healing energy, or whether they're related to relaxation, human connection, expectation, the therapeutic environment, or some combination of all these factors. And so far, science has not established the existence of the universal life energy described within the Reiki tradition. But that creates an interesting distinction. Because demonstrating that Reiki helps someone feel better and demonstrating why it helps them feel better are two very different questions. More than 100 years after Usui's experience on Mount Kurama, millions of people continue to practice Reiki. Some approach it as energy healing. Some see it primarily as a spiritual practice. Others simply appreciate the stillness and relaxation it provides. And perhaps that's what makes the story of Reiki so interesting. It began with one man's search for spiritual understanding on a mountain in Japan, and somehow became a practice that traveled across cultures, across oceans, and eventually around the world. Whether Reiki is universal life energy, or a powerful relaxation practice, or something we haven't yet learned how to measure, or maybe some combination of all three, it is still very much an open question. And that's exactly the kind of question we like here in the Wu Files. Thanks for listening.